I can do either.
Okay.
Okay.
All set.
Okay. Welcome. We'll get started. February 22nd. Did you all know that the 22nd is a master number? If you know anything about numerology, that's a good number. So
All right.
it's a good date to have a birthday, which is my son's
Thanks for you
birthday
guys.
today. And yeah, good day to come to Planning Commission. Oh, really? I think I knew that. That's awesome. Okay, well, let's get started with the prayer or pledge first. Pledge first? Let's do the pledge first.
I'll stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll pray.
Thanks.
Our Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful this evening to gather here for this Planning Commission meeting. We pray that Thou would watch over these proceedings and allow us to accomplish the things that are on our agenda. We're grateful for this beautiful community that we live in, for the wonderful people that we're surrounded by, and we pray that as we go throughout this evening that we'll be able to be blessed with Thy Spirit and always. And we ask these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Well, let's see. I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda, which is very short.
Go ahead.
I'll motion that we pass the consent agenda.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Number 2. Consideration of a preliminary plat for the Harmony Ridge Plat B subdivision consisting of 123 units located at approximately 5,000 South, 750 West, PD3 zone. Take it away.
Thank you, members of the commission. This is a project you're familiar with. We've seen a few times in the last little while. As you recall, back in 2011, the city approved the zoning and a development agreement for the site. Last year, the council amended the development agreement to allow for a max of 990 units. And they approved the preliminary plat for phase 1, which consisted of 99 units, and that came before the Planning Commission as well. So the applicant is now they're moving forward with the next phase, which is Plat B, which consists of 123 units, which would be 100 condos and 23 townhomes. So you recall this is the 460-acre site on the south end of the city. This is the concept plan that was approved as part of the revised development agreement. This bottom high-density areas where we're talking phase 1 was this kind of southern section, and this Plat B is kind of the western and more northern section. This is the plat layout. So you've got the townhomes along the west boundary, and then the condominium units, and also the HOA park. The applicants provide some renderings of what that park will include and will look like. If you have specific questions, we can ask the applicant. But we'll include some open space, clubhouse, swimming pool, playground equipment, and pickleball courts. So those are some of the renderings of the image. We've included a summary of this in the staff report of the development agreement and the zoning standards and the concept plan, and the project is consistent with those, and staff's recommending approval of the preliminary plat as recommended in the staff report.
Okay. Any questions? This is not a public hearing.
It's not, no.
Yeah, so do you want to say anything, Mr. Edge?
Mr. Edge.
Mr. Edge, wow, that's a compliment, thank you. No, my name is Brandon Watson with Edge Homes. So yeah, this is exciting. As we're underway on construction on the first phase, it's exciting to get another phase coming right behind on its heels. And so, yeah, so we're excited, and we wanted to try to hit that middle park as fast as possible. So we're excited to be able to bring that one on board with this. And just internally, we've kind of nicknamed it the Hidden Gem Park. as it is kind of tucked inside the development there, and will kind of have an isolated feel, but it is a big community park that's got, you know, clubhouse and pool, pickleball courts, picnic tables. We'll have a little trail system around it. So we're excited to get that underway and get that started as quickly as possible. But I appreciate your time this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions?
No, I think we've
Yeah.
seen it already.
A lot of the
I think,
heavy
so.
lifting was done.
Phase 1 is underway then?
Yeah, in fact, yeah, as soon as the asphalt plants open up, we plan to pave our first phase and get going on some home sales, so we're excited.
So you haven't dug any holes yet or anything?
Not yet, no.
Okay,
That's exciting.
Yeah.
very good. Well, I'm just curious, do you know what your price point will be? What you're going to be starting at on condos?
So I don't. I wish I was privy to that
I know,
information.
right?
But yeah, I get asked that all the time, especially from our sales agents, as they're
Yeah,
excited to get
I know.
going sales. So
Well, I
yeah.
hope you're bringing Janine back down this way.
yes, in fact, she's been most inquisitive about this.
Okay,
to me,
that's
so yeah.
good. Well, she needs to get back down here for me, so
Yeah.
that will be good. Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept this, can you put that?
Approve.
Approve
The
Back
preliminary
one slide.
Yep.
the plat as outlined in the staff report.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Easy peasy.
All right, we'll see you.
Thanks. Okay, item 3, consideration of a project plan application for the construction of a mixed-use building located at 410 North Main, Central Commercial Zone. Okay, Sean?
Thank you, members of the commission. So this site's just kind of kitty corner from Central Bank. As you know, a very small, very narrow commercial site. In 2018, you may recall, we approved a project plan for a mixed-use building, kind of a barn design that had a bakery in the lower floor and a residential apartment on the second floor. The applicant was never able to move forward with that project, and so the project's recently sold, or the property's recently sold. And the new applicant is now proposing a similar style building that will be mixed use with commercial on the ground floor with an apartment on the second story. The commercial use has not yet been determined by the applicant. So that's just the aerial of the site. This is obviously photograph looking kind of northeast. I'll just point a couple things out. You did receive an email. The neighbor that lives directly to the north had some concerns, primarily with safety. You can see their driveway is quite close to the intersection. So they were concerned that the building might block views of that driveway. We have met with the city engineer and been outside to make sure that that is not the case. The building will be set back about 12 feet from the stop sign, so there will be adequate views, and that the views looking north will be maintained. One thing we do recommend changing is typically we require a tree would be required in the planter strip. We are recommending that we no longer make that requirement to keep the visibility of that driveway safe. There also will not be allowed any parking on Main Street to keep that safe as well. This is the proposed site plan. You can see the building pulled close to the street with the parking to the rear. And then the rendering of the building, kind of fitting with our logo there on the bottom. It's kind of small town, big heart feel. I think they've done a good job with the design. These are just the individual elevations. If you have questions, we can come back to these, and the floor plan with the commercial and the residential. As far as the general plan identifies this site as town center commercial. The idea is to keep a small kind of neighborhood scale commercial area around City Hall. So right now, obviously, we have Central Bank and the dentist's office and the mortuary, and then this site, and then the property directly across the street that's still vacant is also commercial. So in the long run, we'll be able to have kind of a nice little neighborhood scale commercial area around City Hall.
Got the other one too on
And on the corner of
Of
Maple and Main, right, where Real Deals is going in, right. As far as design standards, you're aware that we encourage parking to be located at the side or the rear. We encourage sidewalk connections for pedestrian access, covered entrances, quality building materials, variation in roof planes, buildings to be oriented to the street, and we do require landscape buffers. And as I mentioned, we would remove that requirement for the tree on Main Street. As far as parking goes, the typical standard is 2 spaces for the residential, and then depending on the commercial use, typically it's 1 space for 300 square feet, but you can share up to 25% of the spaces for uses with different peak times. So typically a residential use where their peak is early morning, late evening, and commercial during the day, that is acceptable. So the applicant is proposing 4 service spaces and a tandem residential garage. When the original application was approved too, we also indicated that we would be able to stripe a couple of spaces on 400 North. There's adequate room within the right-of-way to allow to help ensure that parking isn't spilling over onto neighboring residential properties. With that, staff is recommending approval of the project plan as recommended in the report.
One question I had, and I think this came up from someone else as well, is that going back to that picture, that first picture, I think, that power pole, what do we know if anything's going to be able to be done with that?
Yeah, that will really be between the applicant and the communication. I'm not sure. Is that a utility pole or is it power?
It is power.
It is power. Yeah, sure.
Come on up, Wade.
Wade's the applicant.
State your name, Wade.
Wade Peterson. So I've met with Rocky Mountain Power out on site. They've pretty much said that the poles are going to stay where they're going to stay. So even though that there is like a diagonal that cuts across the lot, we can't, unfortunately for us, we can't do anything about it.
So it'll stay.
Because
Yeah.
it goes to service the neighbor to the north. And the only difference that we may see in power service is if the pole is adequate, that's the larger one, closer
Yeah.
to us in the foreground. It would get a transformer, like one of the little cylinders up towards the top of it. If it's not adequate for that, we'll need to do a box, an in-ground box, and that would be in the same, just down at the base of the pole. If they allow us to do it in the ground, that would be great, and
Yeah.
you'd see kind of just like a sprinkler box cover. If not, it'll be like one of those 3 foot by 3 foot steel green boxes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Is there, how many units up top?
Just one.
Just one.
It's shown right now as 2-bedroom and a bath and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
And just going back to the parking as well, just to confirm, there would be 4 spots on the lot and then potentially 2 out on Fourth? Is that-
Correct. Yeah. So 3 plus a handicap on the lot, and then yeah, we would love it if we could stripe some in on Fourth.
But there's also the garage space for
Oh,
the,
and
for
yeah,
the
and the garage
residential.
space likely for the upper floor tenants.
Yeah, it's-
Gotcha, okay.
Here.
Yeah, I see that now, yeah. Okay, good.
Would there be the potential in the future if the bottom wanted to be converted into an apartment and not retail? Is that possible, or is
It's not, it's a commercial zone, so the commercial mixed use is
you
the
have to keep
commercial
the
component is.
component?
Mhm.
Looks great, Wade. You've done a good job. That was fast, too.
One other
Thanks,
thing,
we're
on the
excited.
commercial side, there are, it's the commercial tenants that could go in there are limited to certain
Uses
uses,
with the
correct?
parking.
Yeah, and so the main uses in the zone are commercial, or like neighborhood scale retail, or food, or office space. Some office space, like a dental office or medical, requires more parking than what this would provide, so that probably is not an option, but most other office uses would be appropriate.
Good question, thanks.
Okay. Anything
Yeah,
else?
thank you.
Thanks, Wade. Okay.
Just as a side note is, this piece was for sale. There were a lot of interesting proposals, to say the least, given the size and what limited options you have. I think we really are fortunate to have this quality of a project, so we're excited for it.
Agreed. All right, let's have why my mind just went blank. I'll have a motion.
I motion that we approve the project as recommended.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Congrats. Be fun to watch that go up. Item 4, okay, this is a public hearing. Consideration of an ordinance amending Mapleton City Code, Section 18.90, regarding landscaping and buffering requirements, commercial and residential zones. Sean.
Okay, thank you, Commission. This item really came about primarily after our discussion on the Quick Quack on the highway. You recall the neighbors were concerned about noise, and with those new residential homes just being built with the commercial on the highway. Fortunately, Quick Quack was willing to accommodate those concerns and offered to construct an 8-foot tall wall along the property line. But after that discussion and looking into that this issue is going to come up more and more as we have commercial being constructed, we wanted to make sure that there was a provision in the ordinance outlining it, so we didn't have to rely on the on a willing applicant, that was just willing to make that as an offer. So as we did that, we went back through the landscape ordinance, and there were some things that were redundant or unnecessary that we've also amended out of the ordinance. But the primary issue on that was the 6-foot fence, with the ability for the commission to require up to 8 feet for uses that would increase noise, potential noise issues for neighbors. We can go through as much of it as you'd like if you have specific questions. Otherwise, this one you would be making a recommendation to the city council.
Okay, I must have missed that meeting, but are you talking about the Quick Quack that's already there? Is that Spanish Fork or Mapleton, or is there a new one going in?
The one that's proposed next to Maverick.
Oh,
So there is one going
missed
in
that,
Maverick.
okay. All right. He wants to be in every church, every Quick Quack, every block. Holy smokes.
Okay.
Yeah, as I looked at this, I thought it was really, really good. I thought, I think there's been some good thought put into this, and I have no concerns.
This one is a public hearing too.
Oh,
if there's
that's
anyone
right.
interested.
Okay, well, let's open it up for a public hearing. Are you here for this, any of y'all? You could care less? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Brad, do you want to talk just for the heck of it?
He gets to come to the next, he wants to talk on the
He's
next
the next one, okay. No. Okay, all right. Well, honestly, I just breezed through this one, so I didn't look at it too close. Is there anything you think we should talk about, Sean?
It's really up to you. TJ, do you have any
TJ,
comments
did
on
you
it?
look
It
at
was
it?
just, there was a lot of stuff that was removed that had to
Yeah.
do with landscaping and stuff. One of the things that jumped out to me is you can't landscape with leaving it native turf. So I'm thinking like all these houses going up in large houses on 5 acres in, what's it called? Right by my house.
Oh, in the preserve?
Preserve.
Yeah.
They would have to landscape. They could not just say they're gonna leave the forest behind them.
For the front
front
portion,
yard,
yeah.
yep.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
That's what it was before? That's what it is
Yeah, and
now?
one other thing that we had to change in this is, we used to, when a building permit was issued, there would be a bond to ensure that the front yard landscaping went in.
Right.
The state legislature adopted a requirement that cities can no longer do that last year.
Wow.
And so the amendment here changes it from the responsibility of the builder and the developer to the homeowner. So that it's still a requirement, it's just we can't.
So they can
Actually
move in
bond
before
for
the yard is done and
Yeah.
stuff, but they're on the hook.
Yeah.
Did I read that right?
Yes, and there's not there's not a bond or a hold on the certificate of occupancy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But there's still a time frame that they have to get it done
1
in.
year.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 1 year.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
And that's, just to clarify, that's not retroactive.
Correct,
It's just
moving forward.
moving forward. Yeah. I wish it was in some cases. I know a few.
Well, enforcement is always the big struggle.
But, yeah, personally, I think that's a good thing.
Did we really have a tree czar? I was wondering. No, okay.
No.
So it's good to take that.
Yeah, there's a few things that are pretty old. So.
Okay, well, how about a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval to the city council for these changes.
I'll second. I guess I'll second. Did I say that? I didn't really mean to say that. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 5, public hearing. Also, consideration of an ordinance establishing criteria for flag lots. Go for it. Sean.
Okay, thank you, members of the commission. As you know, most residential zones have a requirement for minimum lot size and then also frontage on a city road. The frontage requirements from our lowest or highest density zones up to the critical environmental zone range from 70 feet to 250 feet. When a new development is constructed, the road and the infrastructure gets built to ensure that each lot has that frontage, and then those utilities and infrastructure get turned over to the city. Road and utility maintenance are significant liabilities for the city moving forward. We're constantly struggling with having enough funding to maintain roads, right? I mean, we do get what's called B&C road funds from the state, but those are never sufficient to handle our requirements. We do have a road utility fee that's charged to each of you each month to help cover those costs. And so we are weary of the costs that come with road development for new subdivisions. And what's happening occasionally is you have a property that has significant acreage, enough acreage for more than one home, but not enough frontage. And so that leaves them with two options. One, either you don't develop, or two, you go through the expensive cost of building a road. Typically, they end in cul-de-sacs that are dead end, and they're only servicing one lot. And once that's dedicated to the city then is then responsible to maintain it in perpetuity, to snowplow it, all of these responsibilities for very little to no public benefit. And so this came up recently. Mr. Johnson's here. He can speak to his particular situation, but we've been thinking about this for a little time, but his property in particular was one that really got us to say, okay, let's address this and see if there's a better way to handle these very small developments. And so what we're proposing is an ordinance that would allow on limited occasions the approval of a flag lot that wouldn't be required to build the infrastructure for the new lot. It would be limited to subdivisions of no more than 2 lots, and only when there's not sufficient frontage on a road currently for the 2 lots. So if you have a development that already has enough, or a property that already has enough frontage, this isn't a way to get out of building the infrastructure on an existing road. This is just to avoid constructing new roads where they may not be needed. The parcel could not be part of an existing subdivision. Some really bad examples of flag lots exist, and you've probably seen them in developments all over, especially Cherie, right? Where a developer is just trying to squeeze in as many lots as they can, and so they tuck a home behind 2 other homes when it really, there isn't a logical flow to it. So this ordinance would not allow that. This would not be for subdivision developments of multiple lots, and so this is really just a way to handle those situations that are 1 lot or less, or 1 new lot or less. They still have to provide emergency vehicle access and turnaround. We would not allow a flag lot if there's a transportation need for connectivity, or our transportation master plan shows that a road needs to go through for future development, if that makes sense. So just as an example, if you look back here, let's assume this is an example. You've got a parcel that has frontage enough for 1 lot. So the option would be to either build 1 home or to construct a whole city street with a full cul-de-sac to create the frontage needed for Lot 2. As we mentioned, all that liability would then be turned over to the city long-term. So oh, go ahead.
On that example, if there was frontage for 2 lots, then a flag lot would not be acceptable.
Correct, you could just divide it down the middle. So what this would allow is just an access driveway. The utilities, because they wouldn't have to be, utility mains could be smaller, the road's smaller, or the driveway's smaller, the specs for the, for the weight that the driveway has to hold don't have to meet city standards, right? So it really reduces costs for the applicant, but primarily reduces long-term maintenance and liability issues for the city. So that's how this kind of came about. Happy to talk through any other proposed requirements or any of your thoughts. And this one is a public hearing as well.
Well, let's open it up to public hearing.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Brad. State
Yeah,
your name for the record,
Oh, yes,
please.
Brad Johnson. Hey. So I love this idea. When we were first developing our land and figured out we had to do this, like, our first thought was, when my wife and I were talking about it, she's like, does that mean we don't have to take the trash cans all the way down? So that means the trash can, they've got to come way down our street, but then we also have, we don't have to do snow plowing, all that kind of stuff. But I love having the snow, and I don't want it gone anyway. But so there is that advantage. But I think our house, like our flag lot specifically, we want to keep it more country, and it does feel a little awkward to make that city, that road so big. It looks like I have just because it is a lot like that, it would just look like we have a crazy driveway to one house. But so that's what I think is different about that one as well, keeping it that feel with a small road like that. And yeah, anyway. Yeah, and also with our lot, we also wanted to have when we don't have to expand and give up that much land, we actually wanted to give some land to our neighbor who has I think it's a 1/4 acre, and we just wanted to let them expand a little bit so it doesn't quite feel so cramped there. So they're gonna expand a little bit, then we still have 2 acres there, and yeah, anyway.
So you're planning on dividing your property currently into what it is, into one more flag lot and then a little bit for the neighbor?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So we'll have our lot be the flag lot, a new lot, but we're just going to, and we talked about possibly just sharing some land without creating that another lot. We're just sharing a little bit of that.
Right.
So it's still only 2 divided into 2.
Right.
Yeah, his situation's a little different than most in that his house is set way back.
Right.
And the new lot will be up front. Typically, you'll,
Kind of like Nemelka's.
a little bit, yeah, where his is farther back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I think this is a long time coming for this, especially for our community, because there's so many deep lots that are prohibitive of developing. The cost is just too high for the benefit. So, yeah, I think I'm in full support.
I think what's interesting that we're seeing now is in past years, it wasn't worth it because land values weren't quite as high. Now where land values are getting so high that they are saying, as much as I don't want to spend all that, we'll still come out ahead. And so you could be seeing more of these proposals if we don't have this, where we're getting all these dead-end streets that really don't lead to anywhere and cost a lot to maintain.
Are you here to speak? I am. Sorry, I kind of I didn't mean to cut the hearing short.
No, you're fine. My name's Justin Sorensen. I really just kind of wanted to express my support of this.
Okay.
We don't currently have plans to do this, but we could. I live on 1600. We're zoned agriculture over there. But because of developments around us, we no longer can really access our water just because one, it rarely comes. 2, the water used to be at the top of the hill, now it's at the bottom. And I have not figured out how to make it flow up the hill over there. And so some of the plans that we thought we were going to be able to incorporate there as far as actually growing in the back just aren't really practical. And so having this option, again, more long-term, we don't have immediate plans. It makes a ton of sense. And, you know, with how our lot size is, if we did have to put in the full street, the full cul-de-sac, all of a sudden we don't even have enough land to split it. But currently, you know, we have, you know, over 2 acres and it would work. So I fully support this.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Wade, you want to talk again? Go ahead.
Just a quick question.
Okay.
And that slide went so fast. Was it saying that you could go to 2 additional lots or 2 total lots?
2 total.
Okay. Well, I think we can close the public hearing.
Just one quick question I had, Sean. So with this proposal, it means that the potential road that would go into Lot 2 in this example would not have to meet the same standards as a normal city road.
Yeah,
So the width wouldn't have to be as much and so forth.
Yeah, so emergency vehicle access will still be needed. There, depending on how long it is, it may need to be as wide as 20 feet, but a typical road is minimum 28 feet plus right-of-way, and the standards for how you're building the road is significantly more than what you would do for a driveway access to a house.
Okay. And from what I think I read, it said it could be any type of hard surface.
Yeah, you could do concrete or asphalt or.
Good.
Do you have an idea or estimate of how many lots this would affect?
Yeah, we looked, without considering TDRs, we identified probably around 40 to 45. You know, without looking at each one individually, there could be fewer than that, you know, once the standards are applied, but enough that we're not just making an exception for 1 or 2 people. And it's enough that if you considered that all of them at some point at build-out decided to do a normal city road, that's a substantial amount of investment that we would have to maintain.
So would I guess they wouldn't have to do curb and gutter on the way back. It would just be, they would have to improve the little
Just the
driveway
frontage.
a little bit? The front?
Yeah, you'd improve, depending on what road standard is, you'd improve the frontage along the existing road.
Yeah, so
but
they would have to do curb and gutter if there wasn't any
Yeah.
along the whole frontage.
Depending on which cross-section is adopted for that road. There are some instances where no curb and gutter would be required on like rural lanes, but.
Oh, really?
So I had one other question related to what are the rules in terms of fencing along that long corridor? How would that affect like line of sight when people are pulling out if there's a fence?
Yeah, the standards for line of sight, you couldn't have anything within the front 30 feet that was over 3 feet if it was solid, or 4 feet if it was open. And then once you get back past that 30 feet, you can go up to 6 feet, and you could fence it.
So right up to the road, you can have a 3-foot
Up to the right-of-way.
right away. But if that's if it's a country road, the right of way is right
Yeah.
at the road, right?
Well, there's a
Sticky
drainage swale that you'd
Okay.
have to be behind.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because there's a lot of these on 1600 that
That could.
would have that swell.
Is the line of sight also applicable to landscaping?
Yeah, we would typically look to ensure that there's, you know, adequate line of sight to do that. The tree setbacks also typically 30 feet, they're spaced 30 feet apart, so usually you'll meet that.
I just know in my subdivision on, I think it's 1900 South, the next row south of, you know, the road south of Monte Vista, where Monte Vista connects to it.
Okay.
The house that just sold within the last year they have got massive trees and you cannot see, you have to inch up.
Yeah.
Both houses on that corner have massive pine trees now and you cannot see around those. You may want to
Yeah.
go look at that, have someone go look.
I had one other setback issue, or question related to setback. So how do you determine what's front yard, what's side yard in relation to the neighbors?
Yeah, so
Like they're being encroached on?
the property line that's parallel to the street would be the front
Okay.
for the new lot. And so you'd have the greater setback there. So if you had an existing home here, that's going to be 30 feet.
So even if you oriented your house the other way, you would still have to give 30 feet on that side.
Yeah, we did that to make sure that it wasn't too cramped up against those new homes.
That's good, yeah.
Would you have to use the TDR if you were cutting that in half? Like-
No, so this was just an example, but if this is a 5-acre parcel and it's a 2-acre zone, no.
Oh,
If-
right.
Or at
But
least
say
2.
it's a 2-acre and it goes to 1?
They would have to apply for the TDR and
Yeah,
go through
okay.
that process.
Okay.
And it had all the same rules in terms of you can't divide, this does not apply for an already platted subdivision.
Correct.
So you can't do this in Harvest Park.
I don't think there would be any lots where you could anyway. Okay.
I have another.
Okay, save it till after. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval to the city council based on what is outlined in the staff report.
For flag lots.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I think we can close the meeting.
Is it for tonight?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
It's great to have some people here at a public hearing. So